Hey, I wanted to share a series of realizations or thoughts I was having recently, almost like in real time. Um, just because I think it is actually quite useful, or maybe not even useful for me, but more true than any truth I can really rely upon in my life. As an INTP, so this video I think is relevant for INTPs, really. And for probably like a lot of people that are seeking to understand the current media climate we're in, for example. Uh, so I'll talk through. I think I'll start by talking about where I was, and I think as us INTP, like I think INTPs, a big blocker I would say in INTPs' lives is thinking that this thing that we live by can actually find something that is timeless and reliable. This is the first function in our stack, introverted thinking. And what we seek is like some central concept, and that we can find, and it's like what we can live by forever. Like, oh, I found it, it's done. And I might almost suggest like it's arrogant and presumptuous to even think that that's possible. And that's actually like I recently read this analysis by like this Buddhist who realized the same thing, and it's something that Derrida, a certain philosopher, talked about in deconstructionism. They each said that something that philosophy has come to discover, and Derrida came to discover, is that it's not possible. And in the reasoning, I recall that he says that each new philosopher, when they come up with their idea, they speak from this very like, what's the word? Apocalyptic perspective. It's like, this idea is the end of philosophy. Like, there's no more. But each new generation of philosopher says the same thing. So a meta observation of this is like, actually there's no way to find that timeless, complete idea, and you can stop looking. It doesn't exist. And when one discovers that, then they're now free. So what I'm suggesting here, or what I'm thinking about here, is perhaps INTPs, we take ourselves too seriously. We're trying to worship some god that doesn't exist. And one thought process I went through like last week that really set me free was this idea of giving up. Not like from that perspective of introverted thinking, I don't need to find that timeless principle to live by. Because what I discover happens is that timeless principle has an expiration date. And when I try and hold on to it and like expand upon it to live my life through it, I inevitably end up in like this nihilistic corner where it just feels like a trap to try and continue to live by it. And what has always freed me in those situations, and what freed me last week was the idea, like, what if I just gave up on that? What if I just let it go? What if I just let the sandcastle disintegrate back into sand? Oh, there's all of this cool stuff I can do now. I don't like, where before I was trying to like justify and logically understand what I should do next. If I just drop all of it, what do I want to do? It's fun. And what I'm sharing here with the imperfect tool of language is sharing that with you, that like, yeah, it's not that serious. And I think just like it's almost like a human desire to make things serious and timeless, but like regardless of how much we attempt to try and do that, reality will show us time and again that it's not true. I mean, these books back here, perhaps people wrote them attempting to like make these last, make these be meaningful for long enough, but after 80 years or so, they're not meaningful anymore. They served their purpose, they lived their life, and then we're looking to the next thing. And I think the more I treat ideas like that, where it's like it's good for that time and then I move on, and the more I can be completely fine with like letting it go completely, the more this becomes two legs moving forward, instead of like me entering these periods of like just feeling lost because I'm trying to figure something out that can't be figured out anymore. It's dead. In those situations, I can just, if I just let it die, if I just give up, then I can now move forward. And I'm mixed about this, right? Because I very much want to believe that logic will find an answer. That's reassuring to know, to think about. But time and again, it has halfway found like amazing answers, and then the other half of the time, it was my trap. It was the thing that kept me from doing a lot of stuff. So if I don't take that so seriously, if I can move forward knowing that everything that I realize will ultimately not be true anymore, then I think I can be way more free. And then I think what happens when I do that is INTP just becomes another one of the 16 ways to go through life. And introverted thinking just becomes another way to think about life, instead of being the answer to all of my life issues and like the way that I live my life. It's just, I'm just another human. I thought about this structure of scientific revolutions when I thought about when I was reflecting on what I'm sharing here. Every scientific revolution thinks that they're coming upon like the final truth of science, the movement left behind. They think like, oh, but this was the truth. Wasn't this the truth? But actually, from a more meta perspective, the progress of science is the truth, and every truth that we settle upon along the way is just the process. The process is more true than any one theory we come up with. So it's very freeing to know that none of the truths that I discover are actually true, and they are just true for that moment. They are the next stepping stone in my life that allows me to almost like surpass nihilism. Because nihilism almost assumes that there will be a meaning that I will find. But if I say, oh, that was never going to be possible, then now I can just move forward as another human. Yeah, that's the base of what I was thinking about. And almost, yeah, the spirit of it is not taking myself so seriously and not taking life seriously. And I think actually every single approach and personality comes to discover this, especially in these times we live in. And I'd like to share like a series of thoughts I've been having about media related to this. I've been thinking about how Gary Vaynerchuk, is I feel almost like he discovered this far earlier than anyone else. And he's been living it out on the internet and showing us all what what reality actually is. I mean, Gary's been posting like 20 pieces of content every day for the last 20 years. There's thousands and thousands of pieces of content. And if you go back, 8 years and you look at some video, is it still relevant? Probably not. And actually that is closer to reality than, whatever thoughts Plato had back in the day. Plato had pretty useful thoughts for his time, but there are parts that are useful from there, and there are parts that are not anymore. So, I've been thinking about that, and I've been also thinking about how that can really enable my content creation. And I think what Gary V shows us is that if this moment in 5 years' time will no longer be relevant, then what is a far more like alive way to engage with the internet and actually engage with life is to flow with it. Is for this post to be relevant for now, and then the next post to be relevant for then, and we are all just along for the ride. Which somewhat reminds me of the movie, if you've watched it, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that's also a similar message sent through that movie. Which is like, yeah, there's all this crazy stuff happening, everything, like, there's so much that's happening in the world that you can't really make sense of it all, you can't follow it all. And that's fine. All I know is I'm here. And I will share what there is to share for now. So yeah, I think it's interesting to see like what's actually alive and what's working in today's day and age. I think that is the spirit of today's day and age, which is whatever, I'm here. Whatever, I'm here. And if I post with that energy, man, like I don't even have to feel like I have to make sense right now, because I get another chance tomorrow. And making sense, like, what does making sense matter? It's what is much more relevant is it's me. Yeah, it's just really interesting to think about, like, there were all these really important people that I followed like 10 years ago, and I thought their stuff was really cool, and I thought it was like meaningful stuff that would last forever. But now, it's like cartoons from the 90s, and they're old now, even though I thought they were relevant at the time. So the more I think about like not having to be timeless, not having to like create meaning that lasts forever. It enables some stuff, and so that's what I've been thinking about, and the mechanism that really enables that for me as an INTP is giving up and letting go. The more I give up and let go, the more I can flow. And the more I can stop, I can go into situations without having to like stop and analyze it. I mean, that like I will stop and analyze things. But it doesn't have to be from that energy of like, if I don't do that, then I can't do anything. I'll just do it when it happens. I'll use that information when it happens. But I will also just live life. Nothing is that important. Nothing is that serious. Things will flow regardless. I've always been really drawn to that kind of philosophy anyways, Wu Wei from Taoism. And law of attraction. But yeah, as I say this, I feel like a shakiness inside, because I wonder, like that part of me like really wants to have that solid introverted thinking basis for my life, but it's also a trap. So that's that for now. And yeah, another way you can approach what I shared today is like prioritizing being over thinking. Thinking is the tool. Being is everything. Like, again, in 50 years, this video will be meaningless. People would rather watch something from their own time. So, what am I doing trying to create something that is meaningful beyond right now? So I've been exploring that idea, and I just wanted to poke my head out and show that to you today. See you next time.